You're live.
That's what it says.
Except we can't see you.
I can't see myself. If you can't see me, I'm sorry. Oh, I know why.
There you go. That would make sense. It's funny.
Yes. Here. Hi, friend. We're gonna get going. So let's get this all here. I'm early.
Is it 9? Or are you right on time? Oh, you're right on time.
I hope this is the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. I'm getting myself situated in Facebook, so we'll do that and then we'll keep it moving.
And then we can keep talking. We're on time for this one. We did another live. Was it? But you're right on time.
This is on my
Another page.
Yep. Hey, hey.
On the tripod, official.
That's how we do. Okay. This one. There we go. Hey, is that you, Mary? I know you said you're early. If that's you, I love you.
She's right on time.
Mm-hmm. She's early or on time or getting it. All right. I wonder if I can see who. Oh, hi. I'm gonna bring this closer so that I'm able to.
So yeah, because if people are watching,
It is you, Mary. It is you.
Hi, Mary.
It is you. I see you. So Christina and I just finished up your neighbor's hood.
And then we quickly did a
quick
change.
Quick change.
Now we are
already in there. So I'm gonna give it a little bit. I'm just gonna say welcome. Is that my dog scratching his butt?
Podcast dog.
Yeah, he keeps it moving. But welcome to whoever is here.
Yeah.
No, I can never tell on Facebook who's here or not. It never really shows me. But it never really, I'll be like, oh, nobody saw it. Then it'll be like, hey, everybody's here. It's like, that makes sense. What is going on? So hopefully you can hear me fairly well. Mary, I wonder if you got kicked off.
See, she could still be watching and you wouldn't know.
Let's see. There you are, tag team back again. But this is something that I've wanted to do for quite a bit of time. If you look at my vision board, I've been really checking myself with my vision board about what it means to stay on task with all of the stuff that I want to do. Because if I could do all of this stuff, there would be clones of me just doing it and doing it and doing it. But for a very long time, I've wanted to talk about the aspects of what it looks like to have a sex life after being assaulted. And it is one of those sort of tough conversations to really to kind of dive into, because it really is in our day and age, it's kind of taboo to talk about sex.
Yeah,
it is kind of taboo, and to think, I'm very much so someone in the public's eye at this point locally, and so I thought, well, maybe it's just not something that I'll ever be able to do. But as we can see, we can't really run from sexual assault these days. It's everywhere. It is.
Which is that it's terrifying that it's so common.
That it is. That
I've
it
never
is.
shared it, but I've been sexually assaulted as well.
Yeah.
And I've never shared it publicly because it's like I talk about mental health, which I say is my deepest, darkest, it's not dark, but a secret. And a sexual
Thank you, Zia.
Hey, girl. Sexual assault is the darkest one for me.
Yeah, here, let me move this a little bit.
Yeah, I can move in.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it because, like you said, well,
Hey there, Mary.
there's a taboo around sex in general and then assault. And mine happened when I was inebriated, as many girls.
When you were.
I was in college. Yeah. And so I know that it plays a lot in my trauma, but I haven't even worked that into my mental health story yet.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're doing this.
Yeah.
This one is for me. It got real.
So we're running. So Christina's here with me, which is, I think there are no coincidences in life and everything happens for a very good reason. Christina, we actually host a podcast together. We just finished up a live for our podcast. It's just like, hey,
if you don't mind,
I'm going to stay. So what I will do is I kind of have some talking points. And what I encourage you guys to do, this is totally and completely a discussion. I'll share a little bit of my story and what brought me to the realm of sexual assault, why it is so important to me, and why I think I was kind of assaulted to success in my own way. When I look at my sex life, I think it kind of started with, pecks on the cheeks with the little kid named Snoopy at the McDonald's, the Ronald McDonald's on Lincoln Highway for people who are from where I'm from in Chicago Heights. And then I think I had a kissing cousin, and then you get a little older and boys start playing grab ass, right? And that's a whole thing.
Right.
And I don't think I actually kissed a boy until I was in maybe 7th grade or so.
Okay.
And it was very interesting and I didn't like it. It was very sloppy. It was very nasty. But,
Awkward.
and as I transitioned into high school, I was pressured into kind of having sex in a way, but I went along with it. I did. I had sex and I didn't like it. It was not fun. And so I went from sex to completely no sex.
Yep.
Straight up. I actually got dumped for not sleeping with my boyfriend at the time again. At any rate. And then I had a straight, I was in a monogamous high school sweetheart sort of situation where there was a lot of sex. And then I didn't have that anymore. And I think I came into a situation where I had a friend and I was actually sleeping with a friend of mine. And there came a night where this friend decided that he could demand, he was entitled. And so I was raped. And after my assault, I think I kind of started getting to the point where I just wanted to have casual sex.
Sure.
Like kind of taking control of the fact that,
Taking it back.
Yep. That I will pick and choose who I sleep with and no one will make that decision for me. I'll do it casually. And then that kind of stopped because I felt like I don't want to be a slut.
Sure.
I don't want to be, thought of as a slut. And then I joined the military and I was raped again by a guy in my A school. And I think after that, once I got to my first command and got acclimated, it was a adventure of lots of sex, just like drunk sex, all these different things where it was almost like it wasn't really for the idea, it wasn't for pleasure. It was just like, it's just something you do. And I wanted to be in charge of that. I think part of that, like sleeping or, the many things. I could go into all the things that I did. And Mom, I love you. If you watch this, understand that, the sleeping or having lots of sex was part of me just trying to say that I am choosing to do this. No one chose it for me. I'm going to do it until I met this guy who I thought was just going to be a casual sexual sort of relationship. And I turned into something that was sexual monogamy. And that was very different post-assault for me. It was just not something that I was used to. And that quickly turned into something more. I think I started feeling something with this person, and that person helped me learn how to explore my body. which turned into masturbation. Like I had never done that in my entire life. And then I realized that I can please
It's
myself.
like a healthy awakening for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Part of taking back that was like, oh, I can actually pleasure myself.
Well, and that your body is not, well, this is my experience, not meant for the pleasure of a male.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
You're really coming into it. I can see
absolutely.
that. I can
Yeah,
see
because
that.
the men were just, it was always like, okay, well, like, and I know a lot of my girlfriends felt like this. It was just like, oh, okay, I kind of have to do this. And so for me, it's like even looking at technical definitions of sexual assault, it's so hard, but it's like, I was
Hey,
pressured
everybody.
I was pressured into sex so many different times
Mhm.
when I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And so it took a while to come into my own.
Yeah, I could see that. And I think that the idea of masturbation and things like that becomes really is another thing that's really taboo that we even have a hard time talking about. So it was a journey after assault to kind of reclaiming my own body, right?
And coming back into your body.
Yeah.
With trauma and assault, you're not in your body.
Hey, Vanessa. Hey, Danny. And please feel free to comment and to ask. Yep. And you guys watching us on YouTube, this really is a discussion. I'm really just kind of walking through my story. And then I really want to bring some things home with some what you can do or what you can keep in mind as far as intimacy when we're talking about sex after assault. So somehow I had to learn how to trust myself with my sex life, if that makes any sense, because I really did not trust my own ability to manage myself in situations where sex was a possibility because it had been taken. And to be quite honest, when I look at the two men that raped me, one of them, I'm telling you, just brutal. It was a very interesting experience, but the other one actually tried to apologize.
Wow.
Which made it really weird in the sense of you just don't know who you can trust. And so I would think that initially when I started to really be cognizant during sex after my assaults, I was having like mini panic attacks while having sex, like talking myself back, right? Trying to talk back to like, are you here? Are you present? So I think that's probably why for a period of time in my 20s, it was a lot of drunk sex. Like I had to drink in order to have sex, which is not the healthiest. And I don't know if anybody here has experienced, the first time that you decided to have sex after being assaulted, or maybe the first time that you tried to have sex after your partner told you that they were assaulted. Because one of the things I asked my husband,
other side of stuff that's important.
And even in preparing for this, I asked my husband, I said, hey, knowing that I've been sexually assaulted twice, right? What is one of your biggest fears behind, like, what do you think about? Because I remember being with a guy that I thought I was going to be very serious with and telling him that I had been assaulted, and it kind of shut down our whole sex life.
Oh, wow. You didn't want to walk through it.
Who,
which is hard. I mean, it's not judging him because that's hard. Like, he didn't know how to walk through that with you.
Yeah. And I don't think he was ready to be with someone who had that sort of trauma.
Sure.
And part of what he said was like, I don't know if you feel like I'm raping you. And I chose to, after that instance, to not share my sexual assault with my partners.
God, yeah, absolutely. I that is the one thing in my life I don't share because I don't know.
You just keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
It becomes my own personal business.
Yeah.
And so what I will say is that over the years, it has definitely been a journey in having empathy and some sort of sensitivity for not only myself, but then understanding that my husband needed to grow a sense of empathy and sensitivity toward me because he was afraid of just being too aggressive. And what we do know as being a victim advocate for so many years is that not all sexual assault is aggressive.
No.
It's not.
Mine was not.
It's not.
Which makes it, I'm using my keyword tonight, insidious. It
makes it insidious.
But it does because it's like when we think of assault, we think of grabbing the girl, I don't want to
dark stranger. Go ahead, no.
But like for trigger warnings, but like violent, getting pushed down, all of that. Mine was not.
Right.
Mine, I don't like to talk about it too much, but mine was not. And And so then the guilt is even worse because, not worse, but everyone's trauma is valid. But I'm just saying, for me, it was like, yeah, there was no pain, there was no pinning me down, there was,
Right.
but it wasn't consensual, and it took me a while to realize afterwards that no, you were assaulted, because it wasn't violent.
To come to that conclusion. And
Yeah.
so when you're dealing with someone who has experienced sexual violence in any sort of way, what I really want folks to understand is that a lot of people struggle with intimacy afterwards, even after finding out that their partner has been assaulted. Like, it is so normal. And your desire for me, after the second time I was assaulted, I just went haywire. I was just like, I don't care. Sex here, sex there, sex, just whatever. You know what I mean? But I know that I wanted a sense of closeness. I wanted sex to mean something. But I felt like maybe it had been taken away. And I don't know how you guys out there have dealt with your own personal experience or dealt with the fact that your partner was assaulted. And just because a person has been assaulted doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want to be intimate anymore.
Yeah, that's
That doesn't-
assumption.
That doesn't mean that. And it is okay I've learned over time that it is okay to still want and desire intimacy post-assault. And it's okay to feel guilty about desiring sex, because I think I struggled with, how do I even like sex? Like, how do I even like it?
After something so
Yeah, like, how do I?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It really didn't make any sense. And that there were things that happened that may or may not happen during sex that could be triggers. So what I did do was go out and ask some folks, and some of you guys may have seen it, what are some things that you deal with when you're trying to have sex after being assaulted? And I remember one lady telling me that anytime her partner touches her breasts, it is like a big deal.
Yeah.
It is almost like she's
shuts down.
trying to get herself back into that moment, and that you may even feel physical pain when you're triggered,
which is a natural response because of the trauma.
It's a very natural response to there's no wrong way to feel, act, do, or be after hearing that your partner has been assaulted, or after trying to be intimate after being assaulted. Just know that struggle can be from the way the room smells when you're trying to have sex. Like, I would just say personally, I don't like digital clocks, because I was staring at a digital clock the first time. Like, I don't want that in my bedroom at all. But there are things that can make being intimate very confusing after a person has been assaulted. So number one is that a whole lot of people struggle with intimacy after finding out about sexual
violence. And it can be even hard to talk about with your partner.
It can be very hard.
I think that's something that we underestimate. And it's hard because it's like, that's the person that's closest to you in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. But one thing that we can know, anyone who has been through this sort of trauma, is that over time, it gets better. When you're working towards, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree in any of this, but what I will say is that when you take it on as something that is a part of you and that you want to work towards being better with, it'll get better. And it's completely normal for it to take time. I am 15 years post my first assault and maybe 14 years post my second assault, and I still am working on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Still a process.
It's still a process every single day. There are times where I just feel like I'm with it, and there are times when I feel like I'm not. I will share personally that, and I even put it on and I try to make it anonymous, but I have an overwhelmingly amount of guilt that when I see scenes of rape
I can't.
on TV. No, I can watch it.
Can you really?
I can watch it. However, it's almost arousing in a way.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. And I did have someone explain to me that it is like a child being, sometimes children have been affected by assault or rape or molestation, that even things that feel so wrong can trigger your body
Yeah.
to
We've
think
talked
that it's
about having
something.
orgasms during assault.
Yeah, we had someone tell us about she felt kind of difficult about having an orgasm
Yeah.
because she orgasmed during her assault.
Which can affect your sex life afterwards, obviously,
Yeah.
because you associate.
An orgasm
Yeah.
with the assault.
Yeah.
And so just know that as time goes on, it takes patience with yourself. It takes time. It takes relearning how to be intimate with someone else. And for me, my personal journey was learning about how to be intimate with myself
Yeah.
because I didn't even know what that meant. It always was attached with someone else. But again, it goes back to those events happen and that you can and will be triggered, and that person that you may be sleeping with that told you that they had an assault can and may be triggered, and understanding that that doesn't mean
That you can't have a healthy sex
that
life.
you cannot have a healthy sex life, that you cannot have intimacy. None of
But
it.
it starts with communicating. I think that's a huge thing, and knowing how, and knowing yourself too, because that's what it sounds like you had to do. Is
Oh, yeah.
know yourself.
And I did not communicate with my current spouse for a very long time in our relationship
Right.
about the assaults. Did not. I just dealt with it. There were days where I just kind of was like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah, we're gonna suck it up.
Okay, we're doing this because this is what people do. It had lost its attachment with
Yep.
intimacy.
Yep.
Obviously, there were moments, but again, it takes time. There is nothing wrong with struggling with intimacy. It takes time. There is no right or wrong way to feel. And time, I will never say time heals all wounds, but time gets you closer to healing your wound. And we're talking about partners, and I'm looking, I don't want to be talking here. I want it to be a discussion. So if you guys are out there and you want to add to the conversation, do not hesitate to drop your comments in. We're looking and watching. Kezia, thank you for the facts, #facts sort of deal. But we just you talked about having that conversation with your partner, is that it is always your choice to tell your partner whether or not you've been assaulted.
Yeah, that's true. What a great point.
It's always your choice. And it is, your partner has a choice with how they respond to that assault, right? So you don't have to tell them everything, like details. For me, it did start with, I was raped. That's it. I was too ashamed to tell my spouse about the second rape. I was ashamed. I was just like, there's no way that I can tell this guy that I was assaulted twice. Not only that, I was the second time I was assaulted. We're at the very same duty station that I was assaulted at. You know what I'm saying? So it was very tough to open up about the second one, but it's your choice. It's up to you. Details don't have to be there. Do what feels right for you. And your partner too, if they tell you that they've been assaulted, it's not a train wreck.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to be a train wreck.
And even if it is, you can recover from a train wreck. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. This is not a train wreck that kills you.
No, that's right.
You
will come back from it.
Yeah, and you may want to know details and you want to know why, but allow your partner to walk themselves towards telling you what it is that they want you to know. And if you do decide to tell your partner, you might want to let them know that you might need some little extra support while you're doing it, to feel like that you're safe with them, because now they know that they know, and there can be
and then you're dancing around each other,
and there can be these sort of intimate conversations happening, like, yeah, are you thinking about it? Are you know what I mean? Or the guilt of, again, am I assaulting you would you tell me?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what happened when, that sort of, that both of you might need support and both of you may need some space.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of do, which is okay. But the key, I think Christina kind of said it, is having that level of communication where you're able to say whatever you're comfortable with saying and walking yourself through it. And if you've had a partner that's been assaulted, it is very important, I'd like to think, and I can't tell you what to do or how to do it, but it's important for you to listen more, talk less, and just be attentive. I tell my kids that. Even for physical cues, during them telling you, or maybe during sex, you just look for things, be more in tune. And that's kind of what I was shocked when my husband told me. He's like, I just don't want to be aggressive. So he minds himself when he's being aggressive. Okay, so Mary says, what prompted you to speak on this particular subject regarding assault? So we just asked the question. For me, it was looking at my own journey with getting back to having sex, because it is, oh, I'm getting upset, because it's very difficult a lot of times still to be okay with being sexually free as a person who has been assaulted. And by sexually free, I mean healthy and okay with my body, with my own spouse, who I've been with for 14 years. So I knew that I always wanted to dissect what it means to have sex after you've been assaulted, because to be quite honest, I just didn't want to ever do it again. But I was out there doing it and I didn't know why. And I wanted to get an understanding of myself and why I was doing what I was doing and why I was doing things that would be considered to be promiscuous after being assaulted, when that was not the way that I was prior to being assaulted. So I definitely, talking about this is really more for me.
Self-reflection.
Yeah, for me to really dissect why.
Well, your story also helps people too, because this is such a not talked about subject.
Yeah.
You know, because Americans, you know, we don't talk about sex in general, you know, so then also a subject like this, you know, and if you look at the sexual assault statistics, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's 1 in 3.
It's supposed to be 1 in 3, but
yeah.
I mean,
it's gotta be. Anyway.
Yeah. And on top of that, Mary, I would say what prompted me to talk about this is that right now we're in a time where a lot of people are sharing their stories. That is the whole truth. Because of everything that's in the news, politically being so intertwined with sexual assault, because of the Me Too movement, because of all of these things, people are telling their stories for the first time. They're getting the gumption to say these things out loud. And I think that there's a space for saying, hey, you know what, I've been assaulted, but then there's stuff that comes after that.
Because you live after that. You get married, you're in monogamous relationships or not, but yeah.
Or not. And for me, it's like, it's one thing to share my story, and it's another thing for people, because I'm not going to even lie to you. I wonder what people think about me sometimes as it pertains to, like, does she have sex? I do. I'm like, I feel I still have this sense of guilt. And I know that I cannot be the only one.
Right.
I just
That's why it's so important to share.
I can't be the only one who struggles with having sex after assault. Like I just can't be the only one. So that is really why this came about. It's really selfish, and it's really exploring my own sexuality after being assaulted that prompted this. And so thank you for that question. I appreciate it. So we kind of left off with just, you know, being present as a partner and really understanding that you always have a choice. Yeah, it's rare. What do you mean by that, Mary? You said it's rare. I would love for you to elaborate a little bit. So we've got to check things going here. And someone on our Facebook Live asked a question and said it's rare, but while you type, because I know that's how it works.
She's live typing it.
But we do want to keep in mind that you remember that this is, a lot of people struggle, as did I.
Yeah, I still do.
And I think you recently.
I recently came to grips with that. 1, I was assaulted, and then 2, how did it affect me afterwards? I acted like a rape victim for a long time when I was having sex. It was like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had to go to therapy for it, and I didn't even know, you know, when my doctor was like, you're acting like a rape victim. I was like, have you ever been raped? And I was like, no. And then I'm like going through my, you know, experiences in my young 20s. And I'm like, I did. Now that I know a technical definition. But but I feel like a lot of girls go through that in that sense of it wasn't
class.
Yeah, it wasn't the stereotypical what you think. And so, but it took me a while to even come into my own body 100%. I mean, I was always okay, we're just going to do this. Like, this is what we have to do. So
Yeah.
it took time to even just enjoy it and realize, oh, wait a minute, I have a sex drive. What is that?
What
You
is
know
that?
I mean?
Yeah,
Like-
that's what Mary said is rare, to have sexual freedom or to be, the key to free. Yeah. And to be able to own it, like that's what was tough, is to own my own sexuality,
Yeah.
because it
To
had
even
been
realize I
taken.
can have it. That's how I was. Like
Mhm.
for me, sex awakening came and it was taken from me many
Yep.
times over and over. I wasn't raped over and over, but it was just more of a, this is what we do. This is what we have to do,
Mhm.
you know? And then after I was sexually assaulted, it was definitely that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Nothing about Christina. And I actually would remove myself from my body.
Right, yeah,
So
And
I
out of
would just
body.
lay there.
absolutely. And like, and even when you
I
say
still
that,
get like that sometimes.
yeah, even in you saying that, is again, we all deal with this trauma in very
Different ways.
different
Absolutely.
ways. And when I say, and Mary mentioned sexual freedom, and even when I am saying sexual freedom, I also mean the ability to wear certain things and not feel like there's something wrong with me for wanting to wear this nice fitted dress
Mhm.
because I've been assaulted, or there's something wrong with me for even wanting to wear a two-piece swimsuit because
Oh, it's horrible. I mean, I just dealt with it the other day. I dress up all the time, and then it's like I get hit on, and then just the shame. So I'm like into trying to learn my feelings because of assault and
Mhm.
everything, and I get hot, and I feel shame come on when someone hits on me or calls me sexy, and it's like I don't even get to. They're taking away from me
Mhm.
right in that moment. It's the same thing. It's the same feelings that I had when I was assaulted and afterwards.
yeah,
They're stripping something from me.
you don't get to own your sense of,
Yeah.
because part of what we do and be is our own sexuality. Hey, cousin, cousin, but yeah, absolutely. And it's not something, again, that I feel like many of us are alone. I just don't feel like it's something that we
No,
talked about.
we can talk about sexual assault, but we don't talk about the after effects and what it does to us
Absolutely.
in our marriages.
And in our lives, right? And let me just say this too, like there's absolutely no such thing as normal sex.
Yeah, that's great.
Like there's no such thing as normal.
It's
Normal
setting
sex,
on a
yeah.
dryer.
Yeah. Yes, you can't put a
That was a bad joke. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, but it's the truth. Who knows what normal feels like when it comes to sex, right? And again, this is something that I feel like when I say I was assaulted to success, I don't think I would have came to the journey of exploring my own body had it not been for the assault and me having to try to take it back, but what feels pleasurable and fun is different for every single person. And your body, again, can be triggered at times.
Right.
I'm 15 years post first assault, and I still get triggered. So Mary says, exactly, I honor y'all's bravery in providing the space, honesty, and opportunity for others to, yeah, thank you, Mary.
For watching, yeah.
It's where when it was the comment saying not subject to, it's just not discussed.
No, it's
It's
not.
just, it's
And then
not
you
discussed.
feel alone. And then it's like, it's even hard to talk with your girlfriends about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, where else can you go? Therapy, but then even in therapy, it's hard to bring up sex. I'm telling you, there's like nowhere to go. So it's good that you're doing this because it's like, it's just like the most taboo. There's no, like, I've even found in my own marriage that it can be weird to talk about.
It can be very weird. I concur.
Yeah.
It's so
And it's
weird.
like, why? Because this is the person that we talk about everything else. And here I am, I talk about mental health and I share, and this is still that one thing that I have a hard time talking about.
Yeah.
Truly have a hard time.
Mental
Mental health, I can talk all day. This is like,
yeah, it's tough. It's tough because again, we've learned that in our age, which I think will be different for our children, is that sex is just by itself is not alone. It's not something that you just sit with.
right.
And so when you layer assault on that,
Right.
and
then the shame that comes with assault, I know for me. And then you're like, and then mine in particular was not that bad. So for, you know what I'm saying? Like compared to other women, and because I would hear that. And so that was something that I grappled with forever was like, okay, well, mine wasn't that bad. I was inebriated. Like, so I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be struggling.
Mhm.
And then I realized, no, trauma is trauma.
Yep.
Non-consensual sex across the board has effects.
Absolutely. Freaking
There's no level of trauma that I had to experience
Right.
for it to,
And then getting, like you said, getting back to normal.
yeah, it took a long time.
But normal is up to you,
Right.
right? And it is okay to be intimate. It is okay to have triggers being intimate, because if you're in a healthy way, hopefully in a healthy relationship, you can always stop,
Yeah.
right? And it can kind of regroup yourself for whatever that is. Again, I'm saying this from experience. It was me giving myself permission to have what is called a sex life that worked for me, right? Me understanding
You had to give
my
yourself
own
permission
yeah.
to that. Yeah.
And the thing about it is too, is that, again, I'm going to reiterate this. You are not alone. As Michael Jackson would say, you're not alone.
Always with the singing.
Yes, you are not alone. It's the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It takes time to reconnect with your body, to learn what feels good for you, because it has been taken. And I will say this over and over again. I still have times where I am having sex and I think about these other gentlemen. And did I call them gentlemen? I don't know if that was the right word.
You're a very kind person.
I'm being very kind. But I think about them sometimes. And I literally have conversations with myself about not thinking about them because I'm trying to enjoy the person that I'm with.
And you have to realize that's just a natural thing. It sucks. I've replayed that. It's popped into my head at times that I didn't want it to. And it's horrible. I've remembered the feelings because I did orgasm during, and I've remembered that feeling, and it's like, oh, I don't want to think about this. I want to think about
it. I want to enjoy who I'm with.
Yeah.
And that could be really
tough. Hard. It's very hard. And I think a lot of it is just learning to sit with your feelings too. Yeah. And I think there's proven the more you don't want to try and push it out, you just say, okay, I'm having a thought, I'm having a feeling, I accept that thought and feeling, but I don't have to grab onto it and stay with it. You know what I mean? Because I know I do that for anxiety.
And I would urge, and we both have to have our own journey with mental health, but a part of that is getting help. And what I will say with getting help is I was very fortunate to have the military as a means to get help. And I know that's not afforded to everybody. Not everybody has access to go and see a counselor or whatever. But I will say this, there is the rape crisis line where you can talk to people. There is, actually, I'll put it in my form where you can text and have a conversation with regards to sexual assault. So even if you're not ready to talk with your partner about it, or you're not ready, you don't have the means to go and sit down with the counselor, then there are free resources out there where you can just have these conversations. Because it's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough.
Still, you're my good friend, and I'm like, I don't want to say.
You know what I'm talking. But the truth is, if there's one thing I want folks to remember is that there is nothing wrong with having some level of intimacy post sexual assault, and there's nothing wrong with feeling like you're wrong, because
there's nothing wrong with struggling with it.
Yep, it is a process.
It is a process.
It's a process that you get to choose, that you get to walk through. And even if you're dealing with a spouse, a partner, or whomever that has been assaulted, there's nothing wrong with having those thoughts about how could they enjoy this? How could but it's a process to work through. Because they have been violated, that doesn't mean that you're violating them. But if it's something that concerns you, it's okay to have those questions.
Open communication is the bottom line. I mean, there's a lot, but and being able to ask those questions. If you feel like you're assaulting, then ask. Or for me, I know I have a hard time speaking up for myself with anything, and so speaking up was really hard, even in my own marriage, and that has nothing to do with the person I chose. In fact, he's amazing, but it's learning how to advocate for yourself. And that's hard. And that can be extremely hard. Yeah. We're talking about something that we're not supposed to be talking about anyway, unless we were told, right? Yeah, right. Right. And, emotions can be very tense, and frustration, anger, all that good stuff. It is very real. And there is, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, as a partner coming in, what I would urge too, and this is just Jackie, I feel like anything that I say is like trash. You can take it on as treasure, or you can throw it away. I won't be mad either way.
But also be cognizant if you have a partner that has been assaulted and you're trying to work through the feelings. Also be aware that re-victimization is very real, right? And so be patient a bit with them sharing their story, because I get wanting to know the details. And I even
It's like
get
a train wreck or a car crash.
I even get as a survivor wanting to share the details, but not wanting that person to judge you for what you did or didn't do in those details.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I didn't respond. I let it happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will tell you the first, and this is, I don't know that I've even told my husband this, but the first time that I was assaulted, I was encouraged by a classmate because I was assaulted my senior year in high school. I was in math talking to a friend of mine. I told her what happened. And what she said to me was like, you need to go talk to him.
Wow.
She's like, you need to go talk to him and make sure this is what you think it is. And when I went to go talk to him, he forced himself on me again, and I didn't stop him.
Oh my God.
I didn't really tell, because it was a shame. It was a shame. And this guy just assaulted you. You went back and tried to have a conversation with you. He prompted it again, and you just lay there. Like, who are you? I consider myself to be a pretty strong-willed, strong-minded person. And I just laid there and I just let it happen. And it made me question, what will I allow to happen to my body?
Yeah. And I never said anything to the person that did it to me. In fact, I don't want to give too much away, but we saw each other regularly.
Yeah.
And went about our lives like nothing happened.
Yeah.
I mean, and to this day, I haven't said anything. But, and it's like, I don't know why. I mean, I'm probably still working through that, Some part of me feels like I don't have a right to, like I'm dramatic.
Like you don't have a right to feel something about it? Yeah.
Because I've made some stupid life choices.
Yeah.
When I was young. But
Forget
you see how we're programmed to think this.
Programmed to think that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So thanks for watching.
Yeah, seriously.
Thanks for showing up for the awkward conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be doing it this again in 2 weeks. There's another live scheduled for sex after assault. I would love to see more people interact. Tell your story.
It's awkward.
Just to,
it's hard.
It's okay. And I feel like, like I said, the reason why I'm doing this is for almost very selfish reasons. I'm focusing up here. Very selfish reason is that I'm working through my own, and I'm still doing, but the high points I want you guys to take away today, whether you've been a victim of sexual assault or you're in a relationship with someone who has recently told you that they were assaulted, or that and you don't know how to deal with it. Know that many victims of sexual assault or rape, they struggle with intimacy, that things will get better over time, that you always have the choice as a survivor as to what you do and don't tell your partner and partners. I would encourage you to allow that time to work that process. That there is no such thing as a normal sex life, even for people who haven't been assaulted.
Yeah.
Because the thrills that I had with men that came before my husband, don't tell him, because we both like to say there was no one before each of us. There's no such, there were things that were normal with other sexual partners that are definitely not normal in my relationship now, just by nature of having a different level of intimacy with the different people that you have in your life. And lastly, I would just say, again, know that you are not on your own in this process. There are a lot of us out here that are still working the process and keep it going. I still have days when I'm crying because I want to have a good time and I just can't. Mm-hmm. I want to be intimate with my husband, but my mind won't let me. And there are times when I still blame these guys by name and say, look at what they took from me. And then I have to claim it back and get back in the moment and say, you know what? This is my motherfucking body. This is my daggone body, and I get to choose. It is really a tough thing to do. It's challenging for anyone who has people in their lives that have been assaulted or that have been assaulted. But I would encourage you to understand it is a good work. It is the good work. It is the good process. It is the having the opportunities to have those conversations with yourself. Again, there are very many resources out there if you cannot afford to go to a counselor. But there's the rape crisis line where you can talk to folks. There's the rape text crisis line, which I think is like 2727. Actually, I'll pull that up before we go here. But there are means to talk and have conversations with folks.
And don't
as you work
underestimate the healing of it.
Oh, goodness.
You just said you're doing it this because it's healing. So
Yeah.
it actually does feel good.
It does feel good. And just
Acknowledging.
and let me say this is that I can do this because I went through, and just to put my business out there, I had to go through a therapy process called prolonged exposure. And I'm diagnosed with PTSD. Like, I literally have things in my life that I just cannot do, will not ever be able to do. I accept that I won't be able to do them because of my assaults. But I did go through something called prolonged exposure. It was very intense, very draining, and it was a very long process of me diving deep into my first assault. And I will not lie and say that I have not even dealt with my second one. I think it's pushed to the back of my mind. I just haven't, I've chosen not to deal with it.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm okay with that choice. And I leave it where it is.
Wow.
It's the truth.
You're always right.
As flaws as it is. So I wanted to at least go 45 minutes with you guys. And I hope next time, I want to thank everybody who joined us.
Yeah.
Either way, we'll be back in 2 weeks having this same conversation. If you want to be a part of the Sex After Assault yearbook and share your hard thing anonymously, go ahead and email me at I've got Ladywood. Yep, I've got Ladywood at gmail.com. I haven't done much on my Ladywood channel in a very long time, but Ladywood is about going hard for your success, whatever that looks like. No pun intended. In present conversation.
Okay. I love you.
But thank you to Christina
Yeah,
for
of
all
course.
this. Thank
Oh my
you
God.
for being a friend.
Absolutely.
And
And but we're in the business of uncomfortable conversations. So whether they be about sex or race or
whatever it is, we just get uncomfortable. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Did I? Nope, I didn't miss anything. It has been real.
Yep.
I want you guys
We
to.
always promise real. We bring it.
Yep. And you can always inbox me, DM me, whatever, if you have something
Yeah, same.
or whatever. I love and appreciate you for being here.
Yes.
Touching you, and I'm giving you a hug, a virtual hug. And I hope you guys are able to make it a great day. Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, that's it.
That was really good.